Dubey sir, now you can start video.
Okay. So good evening, friends. I'm going to start a video. This is a conversation between Krishji and Iris Murdoch. Many of you may be knowing that she was an Irish lady, a philosopher, and a spiritual seeker. So her talk with Krishji, it's about 37 minutes. I'm going to share the screen, and after that, we can have a dialogue around the theme. So just give me a minute, please. You can see the screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, I'm still trying to formulate some fundamental question which I can't grip or entirely see at the moment. Perhaps I can sort of walk around it a bit and ask one or two different sorts of questions for a moment. You feel the idea of duty, I think, is very
Duty.
Duty. Yes, the idea of duty, I think, is a fundamental one in most moral systems.
Yes.
I mean, the
Yes.
philosophers argue about it, but there it is. People are taught when they are growing up. They're taught duties. That
Duty.
they ought to tell the truth, for instance, and other things being equal.
Yeah.
They don't tell the truth. Perhaps they don't always tell the truth. Well, you shy away from the idea of
Yes.
duty.
I feel the responsibility is better than duty.
Well, all right. Well, then, but responsibility, then a sense of responsibility would be a sense of duty.
No,
Well, under some circumstances,
yeah.
one could extend the two ideas in
yeah,
different directions, but you would rather call it a sense of responsibility.
responsibility.
Yes.
Because responsibility implies care,
Yes.
affection,
Yes.
a sense of communication with other person,
Yes.
not doing something because you're obliged to do, or disciplined to do, or told to do, but be responsible. If I undertake to build a house, I'm responsible for building it. If I'm responsible for my children, I will be responsible, complete, not only till they are pass out of my house, but I would see that they live properly, brought up, no killing, no.
Yes, there would be no limits to
no
that.
limits
Yes.
to responsibility.
Yes, I mean, one connects perhaps duty with very definite things
Yes,
which
yes.
have to be done. But on the other hand, if you take something like a duty to tell the truth, that's something so fundamental.
No,
that it
but
really-
telling the truth is part of my responsibility. I wouldn't be dishonest to myself.
Yes, well, don't let's worry then about the word duty, but this is a case where one's dealing with an aspect of human life which is which belongs to the continuity of life.
Continuity of
And,
life.
Would you say that just by that being so, that it is an everyday notion which which is part of the decent moral continuity of the society's life, would you regard it as being essentially different from what we were talking about this morning, from the real thing and
Yes.
from love?
Yes, I would consider different.
But I don't see quite where the division comes. I mean, I'm always trying to build up
Yes,
round
I know
rules,
you're. I see the
structures, which I want to see where the division comes between ordinary what we would call goodness or moral behavior, and this fundamental thing.
Could we start? Why are we fragmented? Why do we look at life and all our actions and our business, whatever it is, always this fragment, business, religion, love, hate, you follow? It's all so broken up.
Well, I mean,
Why? Why do we do this?
well, life has to be dealt with. I mean,
Yes,
every
but
day. you
why
have to
should I accept
sort it
life
out.
to be dealt with in this way?
I think because to unify, I mean, to have a unitary, I mean, you seem to feel that we should have some kind of completely unitary selflessness, which then isn't
I mean,
divisible.
yes, that's
But then, I mean, let's say the words like truth and love.
one. If there is love, there is truth. There is beauty.
Yes, this is so. If one is looking at it in a philosophical sense, but somebody.
No, in actual sense, I mean, if I really love, there is beauty in it. Then
Yes, well,
I
yes.
can't be dishonest.
Yes, beauty is a more difficult concept for this purpose. At least I feel. What worries me is the point of connection between the truth, which is love, the fundamental truth, and ordinary conceptions of truth, as in tell the truth.
But yes, I suppose I've lied, and I acknowledge I've lied. I acknowledge if I've been angry. That's honesty. That is the truth in ordinary sense of the word.
Yes.
I don't cover up my lie with lots of phony stuff. I said I've lied. I've been angry. I've been sorry. I've been brutal. It's. I think we are so trained to cover up all this kind of thing, to escape from all this, not being terribly honest to oneself.
Yes. Well, how does this connect with your? One of the things which I think you're very much concerned with is overcoming conflict.
Yes.
And overcoming separatist
Yes, that's
thinking
right.
and so on. This then does suggest that there's some. You make these distinctions between desire and love, for instance, and you then bring truth into the center by saying that love is truth.
Yes, of course.
But this doesn't seem to me to connect very easily, and this is where the idea of ideas about purifying desire or something would come in. This doesn't connect very easily with ordinary moral life.
No.
I mean, it looks as if one would have two judgments of morality. You'd say he's a good man in the ordinary sense of the word, but is an imperfect man in your sense of the word.
Yes.
And isn't it important? I can't think of a way of putting this for you. I'm thinking of you as someone wishing well to men. Isn't it important for you to make connections?
Yes, I see this.
Yeah.
Look, let us. I would ask myself, or I'd ask my friend, why are we fragmented first?
Well, you want to go back to a metaphysical question, right?
Of course, that from there you have to start.
Yes, I do. Yes, yes. This is your feeling that we must be right at the beginning. All the
Yes,
time.
all the time.
And I mean, I like this too in a way. And what you say about new, that what you want is something new. You use the word new. That is not the acquired collection
Yes.
of
I
what
mean,
one has, but something new.
I mean, I've asked these students in my discussions, why is it we are fragmented like this, broken up? What has gone wrong with us? After so millions of years, we are still fighting, we are killing each other, we are angry. You follow what I mean? What's wrong?
Well, there's a sense of conflict or fragmented, which is bad, which means that we're fighting. But there's also ordinary discursive reason and how we set about getting to know things.
Yes,
and
yes. Say,
acting
for
in
instance,
time, which isn't necessarily
I use
wrong.
my reason to see why the world is divided into these kind of things, like nationalities, religions. You know what's happening in India, the Sikhs
Yes, yes.
and the Jews, the Arabs.
Yes.
Why? Why do
Well-
we accept this way of living?
Well, yes, but I think there's a kind of empirical, ordinary answer to this, that we can try and stop it by doing all sorts of things like people do when they talk to other people. And
But we don't, Mela. The fact is we've never done it. We haven't stopped this division. I mean, if I had a son with an Arab woman, a son with a Jew, Israeli woman, what am I to do? They're fighting.
yes, well, I think you wouldn't deny this, would you? That part of what you want to communicate is something which would have practical effects
It has
in
practical.
politics.
Yes, politics, religion, daily
Yes.
life.
Yes.
Which is, I would say, look, don't let's start with theories and all that. Let's start why we human beings, right through the world, are so broken up, so divided in ourselves.
But this is partly it seems to me it's partly an empirical question, in that you could say why we can find out why a certain religion held certain views at a certain time and separated off. One could study Christianity in this way, but there's a sort of metaphysical question,
Yes.
which I would think is partly unanswerable. I mean, it's like saying, well, why are there human beings?
No,
I mean, where one must say, well, I don't know. I mean, some people
that
believe
would-
in God and
of
say
course, I mean,
God
that-
created the world.
and
we're
the
intended.
scientists have different
Yes.
reasons for way.
Yes, I mean, if you exclude the empirical answer, you're asking a kind of metaphysical question, which
No,
in a way can't be
I think it's very
can't be answered.
why is it? Now I would like to ask, is it that thought itself is fragmented?
Well, I think thought itself is fragmented, and it seems to me, in a sense, unavoidably so. I mean, what we're doing now, using a natural language,
Language,
and concepts
Yeah.
and
Yes.
using words
Yes.
which we've learned to understand and so on. This is something which depends on a spreading out of interest to the world
Yes.
in many, many different ways. I mean,
Sure.
the word discursive sort of covers perhaps this
Quite.
kind of notion that the intellect has to spread itself out. It has to emerge into language and so on. It can't be a compact,
No,
can't
No,
be
of course,
one,
of course.
which many philosophers want. They want to think that there's a one. But in your rejection of, you won't allow, you don't seem to me to allow, to put it this way, the redemption of the world. I mean, the bringing of the world into the center, into goodness, into truth.
Yes,
love, because-
I say yes, it must be.
Well, yes, but then one can't get rid of all fragmentation. One's got to redeem it, if you see it.
Yes.
Get rid of
All
bad
right, let's
fragmentation.
redeem it. Let us now, human beings, why are they like this? Let's redeem that. Not intellectually explaining, but the fact, daily fact. Why is it that there is such conflict, such violence?
Well, again, there are many, I mean, if it takes Ireland, for
Yes.
instance, I mean, there are many reasons,
Of course.
historical reasons why there is a conflict.
Yes,
in
yes,
Ireland.
I know.
But you're thinking of a much deeper thing,
Much deeper,
Yes.
natural.
which, but it seems to me this, I can't, well, if somebody asked me that, I mean, I would say I can't answer the metaphysical question. What I can say is, why ought it not to be so? And this uses the word ought, which you don't want.
Quite.
That we have a conception of goodness, which from which we spread, as it were, all kinds of thought and action into the world, this is putting it very badly, hoping that gradually we can make the world better and remove conflict in the superficial sense and in the deeper sense too.
We have lived on this earth, according to scientists and all the rest of it, at least 2 or 3 million years evolved. We are still at it.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, just look what is happening.
And who can say what the future holds? But
the future is what we are now. If we don't do something now, we'll be exactly tomorrow.
Yes, but what we can do now is something very limited, really. We can do something to ourselves.
Yes.
And we can do something to a small number of people.
But ourselves is the world.
And we can also take part in politics. Which
Yes,
is a way
but
of
I am the rest of the world. Because my consciousness is like the rest of mankind.
Yes, you mean that if you can do it, other people can do it.
And if I change, I affect it.
Yes, well, there's also the fact that one has a very limited amount of time in which to
That's why
insight.
That's why don't let time interfere with this question. I'm a human being. My way of life, my way of thinking, my action is comparatively like the rest of mankind. They may have outward different, but deeply, I'm the rest of mankind. I am mankind.
Well, except that you're a very unusual person. But
No, I am mankind because we all suffer, we all go through a hell of a time. So I am the rest of mankind. So I am humanity. That is real love.
Yes, but how does this,
Therefore, see, I'll show you.
if somebody says, well, all right, but you're just you're by yourself. I mean, you may be showing what is a human potential.
But yes,
you show what a human
come and join me. Come and join me.
Yes, well,
come and let go your petty little nationalisms and all the rest. Come and join. Let's be free and look at the world differently. And not always keep in conflict with each other. Every husband, wife, madam, this is happening every day of one's existence.
Yes, but I can't help putting the problem in terms of how much influence can one have? And if one is going to teach people, don't let's think of of you and me now, but if anybody wants to influence people in order to bring about the end of this period of conflict and so on, they have to involve themselves in persuasion, in politics.
You see what has happened?
And many people would say, I mean, many people do say now that to worry about your own soul and whether you are selfless or not is a waste of time. We will simply go and help other people.
Yeah.
Go and stop people from suffering.
Yes, they have helped other people. See what is happening with those people who are helping and those people who are helped.
Well,
you can see what there is very little. Hitler wanted to, for the sake, Buddha said, too, he said, mankind suffers, there must be end to suffering, right? And look what they have done. Suffering is going on.
yes.
So
When you think, so I keep wanting to turn it around a bit so that I can get a bit more light. When you speak of overcoming conflict, overcoming suffering,
not overcoming, ending.
ending, yes. Are you thinking of a kind of, I mean, is this anything like what a Buddhist would think of as nirvana?
Apparently, nirvana means, from what I've discussed with people, a state in which the self is not. The self, in a sense, all the time and all that. Come to that point. Don't discuss what nirvana is. You will find out.
Yes, I mean, I would understand something like this as meaning that one is in a selfless condition, and the denial of the world is the meaninglessness of
that's what they've done.
all these other things. Which,
deny the world.
Yes, but then.
But I don't say deny the world. On the contrary, we have to live here.
Yes. I mean, if one thinks of Plato's image of the cave, that you're in the darkness and then gradually you move out into the light. He also speaks about coming back into the cave, by which I think he means that you find some kind of liberation for yourself. But then you have to liberate everybody else as well.
That's the point. You know, the whole sense of bodhisattva and all of that, I will go into.
Yes.
But if you change fundamentally, won't it affect the mankind?
It'll affect a certain number.
No, you'll look. Christianity is affected how many millions?
Yes, certainly. I was about to say that there are cases like the life of Christ, whether Christ really existed,
no, that is
as a historical man or not. The image of Christ
therefore,
has changed, been applied.
Through propaganda, they have changed, right?
Yes.
They have, etc. Now, Buddhism has affected the whole of Asia.
Yes. Yes, all right. But you would go on to say that nevertheless.
Yeah. I say, let's few of us work at this. Then we'll change the world.
I think we have had great teachers who have had a great deal of influence, who have, as far as I can see, advocated a kind of selflessness, which is not unlike what you are speaking of.
Freedom. Freedom from the self.
But what is one to do? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that.
Oh, no, no, of course, what is one to do requires sitting down, talking about it, going into it. Right? Natural.
Yes, I think this
and breaking down barriers between us.
We've come perhaps onto a slightly different kind of question, a question about influence. And
I don't want to influence him.
You know,
that's the worst thing to happen, because if I influence you, somebody else will come around and influence you too in another direction.
Well, yes, but
if you see something for yourself, it's clear.
Well, yes, that again is something which we agree about, that you have to do the thing yourself.
Yes.
It's no good being told this.
Therefore, no propaganda,
so, I mean,
programming.
This is something which I think theologians are realizing now, that you can't have God thrust upon you. I mean, whatever the spiritual life is something which you have to discover for yourself and appropriate.
In
for
the
yourself.
spiritual world, there's no authority.
Yes. So
I mean, but now everything is there. They want authority. People want some kind of security in authority.
Yes, well, I don't myself see any answer to the problem of how the discovery of spiritual truth, whatever this may be, can change the world. You perhaps have more hope for the world than I have.
No, I'm neither pessimistic nor optimistic, but I see, unless there are few of us radically change the whole psychological structure, we're going down the hill all the time. That's all.
Yes, well, I agree with that too. I mean, if the world lost people who are concerned with what you're concerned with, I think that it would lose its center.
Yes, that's what I mean. But there are very few people who are concerned to be totally free from all.
But then you want to put it sort of bluntly, as it were, you want there to be more of such people, but at the same time you reject additional methods of, for instance, ideas of duty, ideas of asceticism and so on, which have been, as it were, part of the training
No,
of people who achieve
no.
perhaps the
Why
state.
should I be trained? If I see something to be true, I stick to it. Why should
Yes,
I
but
train
I
it?
think you've probably had a gift of grace, or what a Christian would call grace, which a lot of people haven't had. That is, what you achieve easily would be very, very difficult to achieve for the majority.
Perhaps that may be, but I mean, after all, there must be. All right, if you use the word grace, all right, be in a state to receive that,
Yes, yes.
which means don't be selfish, don't be deaf. Have conflict, have some kind of inward silence.
Yes, I agree entirely with this. Yes, I think, I mean, don't let's argue about the question of influence or politics,
No,
because I
I
understand your
Yeah, that's what I
position
mean.
there. I think I would think, I mean, I would feel that it is perhaps important to try in certain ways to influence the one's surroundings. But I mean, I know that this is difficult, and I'd rather, in a way, stick to the question we were worrying at this morning. That I don't quite see how to find the way of enlightening myself on this subject. It's partly to do with the question of time and fragmentation. Time is fragmentation.
Yes. So
and
that's it.
Yes.
Choose to be free of time.
Yes. To be
That means no movement forward.
Free and
Yeah.
in the truth and
Yeah.
and love, and not to be acquiring and not to be planning.
Yes.
How, I mean, would one, if one were in this, if one had this kind of insight, or however you would put it, would one know that one had it?
I think one wouldn't know, but it will show in your actions,
Yes.
in your daily life.
But you do accept then that there are two. It seems to me that you are thinking in terms of two entirely different planes, and I'm wanting to connect the two.
No,
And
I think there's a physical plane, right?
Yes, well, there's a psychological plane,
Yeah,
then
that's-
also, which is
yeah,
what we were speaking
what
of
we're
at the very
talking all the
start.
time.
Yes.
Psychological plane, why should there be division there? Why should
Well-
there be superior psychology or lower psychology? It is a whole psychology.
Yes. I mean, some kind of redemption. I introduced the word redemption.
It doesn't matter.
Don't
Yes, I
mind,
understand. I understand.
of the sort of psychological hurly-burly of one's mind.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me can happen in a quite ordinary way. I mean, people wouldn't be puzzled by it. It just be a sort of natural function.
See, I would to be redeemed by whom?
Well-
If I look to you to be redeemed, I'm lost.
Yes, I'm not thinking of being redeemed in the Christian sense.
No,
I don't.
or in any.
I just mean by redeemed, I just mean that something which is fragmented is drawn
Yeah,
in. I'm using an image of,
yes, I understand.
of a center and of outlying parts. I mean, picture somebody, what I'm trying I'm all the time trying to discover where this divide is, that you make a divide between, say, the life of a very good man. I mean, let's,
Ordinary
Tim-
sense. Good.
yes, of an ordinary, very virtuous man who's been very unselfish in the ordinary sense and done a lot of good to people and so on. Between that life and the
Oh, the
life
other.
of truth.
And that's totally different.
Well, why is it totally?
Of course it is.
I mean, you can say this seems to be a metaphysical remark to say it's totally.
Yes, I know both,
Yes.
both are metaphysics.
That's correct. Yeah.
And after all, the self is a very subtle, cunning thing. It can hide under prayers.
Oh, absolutely.
It can hide under every little action, thinking it's noble. I'm helping mankind.
Yes. Yes.
I am influenced for the good.
Yes. Yes. I'm really a remarkable person, admired by everybody. In brackets, as it were.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yes.
to understand that, what the self is, you require such observation, such in daily looking at it. Not just say I'm free at one moment and say that's it, but it requires such attention to
Yes.
everything that
So
you're doing.
you would think that if somebody was entirely absorbed in outward action, as it were,
That's the
he-
most
he
dangerous.
wouldn't be in truth.
That's the most
Yes.
dangerous thing.
So a certain amount of fundamental quietness. I mean, this could be compatible with doing leading an active life.
That silence is not the product of thought.
Yes, yes, okay, that's good. Yes,
That
Um,
silence is not to
yes,
be cultivated.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, I think I believe in that silence too.
Silence, quiet.
It's
Inside there is no movement.
yes. And this would connect with what you say about living in the present.
Yes.
Yes. And timelessness.
I don't know, meditation is an extraordinary thing, I've talked to various types of people who meditate. Yes. Tibetan, Hindu, Buddhist, Zen, all the rest of it. It's all a conscious, deliberate effect. It isn't something do for the love of it. Not meditate for the love, you can love for the, and yet be selfish. But I mean in the sense to do meditation without conscious effort.
Yes, I think any means that one adopts towards goodness is likely to become a barrier.
Absolutely.
It's likely to, because one seeks idols. I mean,
Oh,
we are idol worshippers.
Oh, that's finished.
Yes.
That's not meditation.
That one seeks a consolation in the feeling that you're doing something. Yes, but nevertheless, doing it could help. I mean,
No, I've talked to people who have spent years, please, I mean it,
yes.
25 years. And they come, and the man came to me, who was about 70, much older than I was. And he said, I've spent 25 years in the jungle of wandering over, begging, and I've deceived myself all along.
Well, he should be congratulated. I suppose.
Yeah, I know that shows something.
He was prepared to say something because people
Therefore, that
don't
to
often
be
admit.
really quiet is something you can't cultivate, you can't get it by practice and all the rest.
So
This is your daily life you have to acquire.
it comes by a gift.
No, your daily life, man. Otherwise,
Well, if you say,
what's the value of your quietness? If your daily life is not effective, if your daily life isn't without conflict.
well, of course, I mean, this is why, I mean, I'm constantly wanting to say that the connection with one's daily life is a fundamental idea.
Yes.
I mean, if somebody claimed to have this quietness but behave badly in ordinary life, I would be skeptical.
I know some are.
Yes. So that I think what I mean, my own thoughts on this subject are, I think, influenced by Plato. And I think, or I feel perhaps, that something that you're insisting is which he also insisted on, was the absolute separateness.
Hmm?
The absolute separateness of this idea of the timeless and eternal. That it's quite separate from what we ordinarily think
Yes,
as goodness, which
Yeah.
is a kind of idolatry.
idolatry.
Yes.
Yes.
And he uses the image of destroying idols, that you destroy images, you destroy idols, and you go on. But of course, he does picture life as a pilgrimage in a way in which I think you don't. You don't want to,
No,
because the idea of the pilgrimage
I mean,
itself.
if I have no images in myself about anything, there's no self in there.
Yes, that you're really picturing what many spiritual people have thought of as the end of the journey. I mean, that you're at the end, except that you want to insist that, of course, one is already, in a sense, potentially, or that there is only.
One has to be careful of that too, because the Hindus believe there's God, there's Atman inside, and that give him a chance, peel off your ignorance, and then you'll be like that. That's an assumption. I don't want to assume anything.
Well, yes, I think there's a metaphysical, I wouldn't call it assumption, because it's something I agree with. So
It is an idea. It's an idea.
Yes, but this is a metaphysical assertion,
Yes.
or a religious, or you wouldn't want to use the word religious because that might be misleading.
Yeah, I would be suggesting a concept which has been cultivated, which has been traditional,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
no meaning. Because look, I have this concept, the God is in me, and then I go and kill somebody.
Well, yes, I mean, anything involving the idea of a God is, of course, already, in a sense, an idol.
That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
We have idol worshippers, whether it's handmade or mental, made by the mind.
Yes. So that the the absoluteness of the division for you, and I think I see what you mean. I'm not quite sure, between the ordinary process of life and this being in the truth, which is something which is lives in the present in the way in which something eternal must live in the present.
Yes.
You see what I mean? You must insist on it being quite separate from the world of the idols.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely, of course.
Yes. Well, that
After all, that should be man's search has been for eternity.
yes. Well, that's what people.
They made an
always
idea of it.
Yes, which is not continuation of time.
Of
but
course,
it's quite different.
It's the end of time.
Yes, well, I think if you're thinking about Plato, I come to some understanding.
It's opposed to.
I think we understand.
Well,
Oh dear.
we better
thank you
stop,
very
sir.
much. Yes, I think we must.
We have two hands raised, Mr. Dinesh Waghmare and Harshad Bhai. Yes, Dinesh ji, I saw your hand first. Unmute yourself.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yes.
Okay. I would not like to talk about the heading because we have discussed in past about that many times. And traditionally it is Satyam Shivam Sundaram. So that is okay. But about today's topic, my views are the questions were not specific. So the discussion was not linear and it was quite wavy. Hence, apart from the heading, so many points emerge like duty versus responsibility, division and fragmentation, honesty and morality, why we are human beings, then redemption of world, why we have not changed in millions of years. My consciousness is rest of world's consciousness. If I change, world changes. Then conflict, then question of influence, then whether to help the people or not, then nirvana, a state when self is not, then question of authority, then question of idols and image, training whether should be given or not in spiritual matters, then grace. So these were the points. I would like to, other points are okay, but about 4 points I would like to discuss. First is duty versus responsibility. First is duty versus responsibility. JK intend to say that if I am responsible, then other things are taken care of automatically, as it implies sensitivity, care, affection, etc., etc. And in duty, there is compulsion. My question is, and this question is to Harshad sir also and others. Responsibility comes because of inherent psychological trait available, which is groomed or flowered, or it is because of the conditioning as seen in the Hindu culture, where the son sees father acting responsibly about family and he picks up the same. If it is so, then conditioning is must in this case for the responsibility also. So this is the first question. Then division and fragmentation. JK says why we accept this as first place. But my views are these are part of life, and yes, one can talk of freedom from division and fragmentation, but not deny these things. Third, if I change, world changes. This statement is also debatable. Fourth, grace. Here in this discussion, he has in a way accepted the importance of grace and said, be in a state to receive it. Have some kind of inner silence. So these are the points which I would like to highlight and discuss. So my question is, first is duty versus responsibility. This is the important question. Others are okay, whatever I said, but duty versus responsibility, which is the key in my views in this dialogue. And this should be discussed. Thank you.
Yes, Harshad Bhai.
Yes, I would like to say that in duty, there is a sense of the self is there, that I am responsible, but in responsibility, which comes from freedom and love, in that there is no ego involved, and responsibility happens by itself without having the sense of that I am doing something. That is one thing. And about the question of grace, grace may come, but before that, we need to really look very, very deeply, passionately, what is happening within us in the present moment. And when we are very passionate, curious, not in order to become somebody, but a natural curiosity, then we begin to understand ourselves as we are. And then there is some clarity. And later on, there may be a grace coming from somewhere, the unknown source, something like that. So this is in response to Dinesh's question, but I have my own response to this dialogue, that these three words, love, truth, and beauty, in my view, and also in Krishnaji's view, they are not different, because love means freedom from the self, ego. It's not attraction or attachment, because that attachment brings jealousy, anger, fear. But when there is no self, there is a real state of love. And similarly, we say that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. That means the conditioned beauty. But Krishnaji talks about a beauty when the beholder is not. That means the observer doesn't exist, and in that sense of looking, listening, there is a beauty which we are not aware of such beauty because our mind is chattering a lot and we have no awareness of it. And truth also, Krishnaji says it is a timeless. You cannot approach. There is no path to truth. And so when such a thing happens, this truth is also a freedom from the self. Then only such a thing happens. So all these three words, in an absolute sense, they are not different. And you can also add the word freedom, a real freedom, freedom from the self. So this is what right now I have to say, and then maybe we'll see later what other people have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Harshad. Thank you. Yes, Verma Saab.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Harshad Bhai has not told about he's endorsing JK's view that what he is saying is perfect. All right. That is up to him. He is in love. So that is there. He starts a question right in the beginning. Why are we fragmented? The first question he asked to Iris, why are we fragmented? Man is an inquiring being, and inquiry demands some sort of meaning, what he is looking at or listening to, some sort of discussion. Because seeing, listening is a natural phenomenon. Through phenomenalization and variation existing in the world as such, nobody is doing anything, and naming adds to that. And some sort of continuity is given by naming. JK is asking this question as if this is unnatural, World itself is present as variety in time and space, but ultimately he's talking about timeless. You see, beyond time, when time is not there, I don't think any one of us can say that timelessness was, is, or experienced. Experience is also time in a way. So, to be free of time, he talks about. Then he talks about physical and psychological. Everything, my seeing with a limited mind and all sorts of limitations in optical viewing and listening. You see, every physical effect, every signal that I receive creates a psychology in the sense that immediately either I like it or don't like. Ultimately, they will start, ultimate will be choiceless awareness beyond likes and dislikes, right? So this natural phenomenon, this natural happening in all of us. You see, we may not be knowing what love is, but we love love. We all love love. You see, and there is never enough of it. This word enough shows the involvement of the self, the limited self that wants to be unlimited or complete or the whole. Still a reward is in our mind. Something through all this process will reach somewhere. So that thing is always, it is not, we don't know exactly what it is. JK says love is not part of the brain. Love is not the part of the brain because it is something outside that. So that brain means known, knowledge, past. So naturally, Lot of it is there outside what you have grasped as past or what I have experienced as past. This is understandable, scientific also. So this is something like freedom from the known, what he's talking, and time also will not be there when he's talking about movement of the mind. Silence and movement of the mind. If the movement of the mind is not there, that natural silence is there. But all of us live in a very different dimension, very different world. You see, consciousness and its content, consciousness-free content, content-free consciousness, rather. This comes to that also. Again, that is love, probably. Iris is asking questions with herself and knowledge of philosophy intact and trying to reach an answer through intellect. Krishnamurti, as usual, is in negation mode. Negation happening through the being as Krishnamurti. What am I doing right now? What am I doing right now is this is what is happening. After listening to all this, after viewing all this, where am I? Am I a changed person? And who feels that change, if at all, through even taking it as an ideal condition? Where are we right now? You see, trying to understand, the two speakers are trying to understand, exchanging words, a number of words. And at the end of it, I see it, maybe my viewing is maybe defective, but Iris was tired. She was tired. She was doing so many things like this, not getting what exactly he was aiming at. That love he was trying to share with at least that speaker, with a lot of knowledge and a lot of inquiry and a lot of patience, a lot of intensity was great. But where are we after listening to all that? This is what is, I have to see every time I see this, where am I after listening to all this? Somebody may say, we go on dividing this thing, intellect, intelligence, intellectual, this thing, that thing, words. Word is not the thing. Any number of things will be there. Where are we right now? Thank you very much. I have taken a lot of time. Other people are there. They can discuss. They can. Harshad Bhai can always give explanation to most of the things. So he's welcome. Welcome.
Thank you, Pradeep. Yes, Harshad Bhai.
May I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Okay. I feel that Krishnaji's teachings are for individuals, and only very, very few people will give a lot of attention and energy after listening to Krishnamurti. And even among them, people who get interested into Krishnamurti, it can remain at a verbal level. Everything, a very clear verbal understanding can happen. But the whole thing, what Krishnaji is talking about, love, truth, beauty, they are non-verbal. So only when a person becomes silent and can live, can see in that state the real beauty which exists in everything. So that is very rare, and only, as I said before, that one has to give one's whole energy, attention, and if a person tries to do it in order to become like that, the person will get tired and will get exhausted. But a person naturally curious to look at oneself as one is in the daily life of relationship, because the lady Murdoch, Iris, she was trying to bring it to the level of the society. And Krishnaji would talk more about the individual, and then Krishnaji would say, you are the world, and when you change, the world changes. Of course, yes, that happens to few individuals can change around Krishnamurti. But then even Krishnamurti says he cannot change, even people who are very close to him. So Krishnaji's teachings are at the individual level, not at the politics. One cannot apply at politics, economics, and other levels of our existence. But some few people who are deeply interested, they can really smell the fragrance of what Krishnamurti is talking about in their daily life. And they may not become anybody great in any field, but they will be very happy to look, listen, learn every day and not get tired of anything. Okay, I have said it.
Thank you, Harshad Bhai. I think Pradeep ji has very rightly said, if you recall the video, Iris asked those questions as any one of us will ask, and at one time she says, you are saying to live a different kind of life. It's same as asking, why are you human being? The normal questions that we all ask as to how do you really see the way Krishna is seeing life? And fortunately, at the end, she also says, now you're making little sense to me. I could understand a little bit. So, it made little sense to her perhaps in the end, but for many of us, it doesn't make any sense at all. But as Harshad Bhai said, one should not go only by the words. I think one has to look in between the lines and not analyze it. It's more of a feeling rather than expressing and so on, Does it really touch me? Where does it touch me? Where can I see the way I'm leading my life? That's what is important. I just wanted to make this comment. Thank you. Yes, Dinesh ji.
What I understand, even from Harshad sir's talk, whatever we are discussing, if we discard all the statements and all our verbal discussions and this thing, all the words, etc., then we will be in that state which he is talking. Normally, what I find in these personal discussions, if you talk about individuality, Krishnaji will talk about the holistic things. If you talk about holistic things, or you raise question about holistic this thing, you will go for the individuality. So he will not allow any of your mental makeup to remain at its place. He will immediately break your all mental makeup, or and he will try to take you out of that or beyond that your mental makeup. So we have to see actually in personal discussions how his approach is and how he is attending the things. So as Harshad sir said, we invariably find this thing that not he talks about individuality, but whatever you subject you start with, he will just show you the opposite side of it, and then he will proceed, and then somewhere something will emerge from that. So this is what I find. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I agree with Dinesh in the sense that, even in education, some of us who have been associated with education for a long time, he makes it virtually impossible for you to do anything. So it's a very challenging task for us to really intellectually we can understand Krishna, but to live that life. But we can only start from where we are. And I'm just saying this because I'm not doing it because I want to reach somewhere. I want to understand myself. That's my aim. That's the way one has to begin. Yes, Verma sir, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. Harshad Bhai was talking about non-verbal. All the three things he has categorized as non-verbal. So a separate category is already there as words as well as some meaning in me. So this non-verbal, through my mind or through anybody's mind, in our daily life becomes verbal. You see, daily non-verbal becomes verbal. Then only some meaning, then word, verbal, word, then meaning. And that process is natural. So this is how we live our daily life. Whatever anybody has said anytime, but this is what happens. Non-verbal becomes, not that everything I know, there are so many things, those words are not their exact word for that scene or that variation in nature. So through mind, everything becomes verbal and word. And that's what they are exchanging, a top seer like JK and a top philosopher like Iris Murdoch. So they are exchanging words and the images behind them. And we are imagining that JK is without self and Iris is a philosopher, lot of knowledge, lot of words in philosophy. So this is our state. I take it for granted that JK is selfless. The person who has enjoyed, as I have seen, life beautifully, and when he was purchasing the tie, he said, I want the best. I want the best, good, better, and best, a superlative degree. So, but whatever he says, we try to justify it as if we have seen that state, as if we have, and then he says, this is not an experience. So even whatever we are talking, or Harshad Bhai is talking about the University of Waterloo, or that USA, or the electrical training he got. So these are all experiences that have become memory in me. We are serving through these some message, imagining JK was a selfless person. He enjoyed a very rich life. He enjoyed a full spectrum of life, right from poverty to deprivation in the family, and all sorts of physical ailments in the family, to the richest, the world's best facilities that was available, and the best minds, Elder Huxley, and you name it, everything. He had a full spectrum. But we say he was a selfless person. So this is what I don't know. The person has to question. I don't know. Bhokta and all these things are there in me. I see. Beauty is there always as something which, if I recall and you want it again, then it becomes a problem. Otherwise, it is there as an image in me. Where is time? In time, it is there. In space, it is there. What is wrong in that? Nothing wrong. The wrong is my desire for a particular thing and insisting for that, or pressurizing to have it earlier than the natural course. Then it's a problem. Otherwise, no problem, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Arno, sir. Yes, Harshad Bhai.
Yes, I like to say about the verbal and non-verbal, what Pradeep ji talked about. From non-verbal perception, words may come, and those words, when they are expressed in books or talks, those words can awaken the non-verbal response in some listener or reader. So the words are important, but only if they are coming from non-verbal insight. And that is what all the spiritual great literature, it comes from such a state of clarity, silence, awareness, all this quality. And then those words come spontaneously. And those words, when they are listened by other people, they begin to also feel the same thing what the speaker was saying. So there is a kind of a communion can happen between a spiritual teacher and the listeners when the listener is also at the same level of intensity, awareness. So that is called communion. And it happens sometimes between a teacher and a student, that something is transmitted beyond the word something. And this has been expressed. And I myself have felt something, because Pradeep ji says that I am repeating Krishnamurti. No, I am speaking from my own insight, which has come through the words of Krishnamurti when I gave full attention to those words and look at myself in my daily life. And I begin to see things in a quite different way than the way I was seeing everything before I came to Krishnamurti. So I'm not repeating Krishnamurti's words, but speaking from the way I have lived for many, many years. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Harshad bhai. Yes, Anandji, please.
Yes, sir. These are my observations, sir. When I saw this video, I did not see Krishnamurti as Krishnamurti. I thought it's somebody different from the usual Krishnamurti. What I understand after this video is that, it just occurred to me that what communication means. Communication has to be at the same time, at the same level, at the same intensity. When he speaks to David Bohm and others, I have seen that's a different Krishnamurti. So watching this, I was fairly confused. So that's what I have when I saw this video. The other things, when I say I understand through words, I have to be very serious about it, sir. See, the moment I use the word, that word, there's an interpretation of that word, and it tells me what it is. And one word has got, some words have got 350, 300, 400 different meanings. So when I say understand, and K says, you have to go beyond words. What is that word? Can I look at that is a question. Every time you say, I read something, I understand, that verbal and non-verbal, they're using nothing but words all the time. It's extremely difficult for us to, to listen. And K also says, you're not listening to me, but we keep talking about K. He's saying this, he's saying that. How do I understand? Every time he says, I'm not speaking, it is you. I don't understand that. He says, I'm acting as a mirror. I don't understand that. I keep repeating him all the time, and then I keep interpreting what he says. This is what he says, this is what he says, this is what, whether he talks about the individual or whatever it sees up, when it is, when I find that he's talking the opposite with the other person, no, he's talking out of his knowledge. That is why he says something opposite to what he's saying. Like Mr. Dinesh had mentioned that. So I'm saying that he wants to convey to you or convey to me that you are speaking from your knowledge. That's all there is. Can I look at that as a question? That's all there is. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. Yes, Harshad bhai.
Yes. To look at something, it requires the freedom. And so when you or I ask, can I look at it? Then the question is, am I free to look? Because if I am so much full of knowledge and words and listening through that knowledge, then I cannot look. But when I'm looking, I don't ask any question at all, because it is just looking, and that looking is non-verbal. So every time if I ask question, can I look at it? Then to whom am I asking this question? Am I asking to somebody else or to myself? And if I am asking to myself, then I am really interested in the question. And does my mind really stop to look at? Am I free to look at? So this is very important. We cannot talk about other human beings we don't know. Even we may not be knowing ourselves very, very clearly. So it is very, very difficult to understand other human beings. But I feel that it is possible to look at ourselves as everything is unfolding within our mind. Even the questions coming uh, can that can be looked. This is my position that the book of our life is being written every day, every moment. And if we are silent, we can read some of it, but we cannot know because there are so many thoughts which are coming and going, and it is not observed. About 60, 70,000 thoughts come and go every day, and we are not thinking, but thinking is happening within us. But there is this thing called awareness, which can see the unfolding of our mind. And then we become very silent and look. So this looking is not continuous, but that once that awareness is awakened, then anytime this can happen, this looking. And in that real understanding happens in silent, non-verbal looking. Otherwise, we go on with a mechanical way of living with many conditionings, nationalistic, religious, caste, and all that. And that is what is happening. And so Iris Murdoch was interested in changing society, but Krishnaji said, no, look at yourself. Krishnaji was inviting her, come with me, be like me, and forget about the society. And he says, you are the society, you are the world. And so Krishnaji always gives a lot of importance to about how we live our daily life and understand very, very clearly and be free from many, many problems which we create in daily relationship. And then maybe some impact may be there on some people around us. But to change the world is by doing certain thing is not possible. And the world has been going on like that, and it may go on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Dinesh ji.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Anand that in this statement or in this dialogue, there was lot of track changing. If we see after one statement or two statements, the track was changed. Basically, it is because of the questioner's confusion. She was not very clear what, in my views, what track she should go or what questions are to be asked. Therefore, as I mentioned earlier, so many points were emerged. In case of Bohm, the questions were direct, and that answer was also was direct. So the track, normally the track doesn't change. Here the track was changing frequently. So this one has to see that he has to work on himself, and he should have basic clarity about the issues what he is discussing. So people normally have, what I find, they don't have that initial working. So they just go fall in love with the JK and repeat the statements of JK without self-knowing or without working on them. What are their views? They are not very clear. They have not seen the statements from the various angles and all that. So one has to see. If we talk of JK will always try to check, will always stand against your knowledge, as Anandji said. You will try to break your all mental makeup. You will try to break all your knowledge structure and all that. So, and he would try to take you beyond that. So these are my views. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think we should listen to other people also, because everybody is not David Bohm. So there are lots of people, some ordinary people like us, like Iris Murdoch. So I think we should listen to their confusion, their questions. Maybe something will come out of that. Yes, Anandji, you want to say something?
Yes, sir. I mean, the lady, she didn't prepare for the interview, sir. I mean, whatever she was involved with it, she could go and speak to him and put some questions. So that is what, I mean, I understand. Having been spent 30 years in media, I feel that she did not prepare herself well. That's one thing. And that's not the point. The second, when I say look, sir, the eye sees something, but the brain immediately interprets that. The brain is faster than your light. It can go one end of the universe to the other end. The light may take hundreds of years, thousands of years, or whatever it is. So when I say look, I'm just giving an example. What the scientists are talking about, the brain immediately interprets that. It's very fast. The other thing is, when I'm talking about look, now here, what I understand K is talking about when he says, can you see something? That seeing he's talking about can come from deep inside. When there is some pain, which is, I mean, you don't understand why. It's not because for one particular reason, but then you find there's pain in you, and you don't know the reason. You're genuinely, I'm putting within quotes genuinely, I mean, you want to know what it is. So it's again, I'm saying to know what it is. I mean, there's no intention, but the pain is there. So again, when he talks about perception, one has to be free to look. The question is, am I free? Is what I need to look at, is to see. Am I free to see? It is very essential. No, when am I free? It's a question. Free or freedom? There must be freedom. Freedom again means, can there be freedom when I don't care, when I'm insensitive, I don't like it, etc., etc., etc. Can there be freedom? I have my own views. I have my own opinions. I have my own ideas. Is there a freedom? So can there be care? Can there be affection? So one has to look at that. When he's talking about perception or seeing or looking, there has to be freedom. Freedom, again, I'm putting within quotes, is there when there's care, when there's an affection. That is very essential for one to look at it, sir. I can say, I look, I see, yes, I understand. But then how do I understand freedom? How do I understand care, affection, compassion, etc., etc.? So I just wanted to mention, when it was said that when you see, when you look, I see, everybody sees, even we see, the other species see, the other animals see, everybody sees. I mean, it's not that we don't see, but I need to understand that how quickly the brain is interpreting. Can I look at that is a question. Thank you.
Thank you, Anandji. Thank you. Yes, Pradeep, please unmute yourself.
Just one thing, when Anand was just talking about freedom, and Harshad Bhai also talked earlier about freedom. Freedom is very important. Then suddenly came to my mind that this freedom is freedom from the self in me. In any form, if this self is there, in any form, then naturally my seeing and listening both will be affected. This quite understandable. Anybody can understand this. This self in any form, if it is present. Otherwise, looking, I think seeing is the least energy consuming stuff. Because mind is quite silent. You are just seeing like a camera. So if it is that, the freedom from the self is that freedom they are talking about, probably. It is easy to understand, freedom from myself. Then I can see, and whatever happens is, in spite of me, that's a natural thing globally, how we are connected. Then seeing is acting, works beautifully. You don't have to regret, you don't have to feel anything about it, because it is natural. That was the connectivity already there, unhampered by myself in any way. So then everything is good, probably. That is what I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Verma. Look like we have come to the end of the session now. So we'll close, and next Sunday, that is 2nd April, we'll have Meena Martini from Finland. She will be talking to us. And she will be sharing her own videos, and they're short videos, and based on those videos, she will have a discussion. So it will be 6 p.m. next Sunday. If you're free, please do join us. And thank you all. Thanks a lot for joining. Good night.
Thank you, Dubeji. But I have not met an ordinary person in this meeting. I have never met. I have never met a man without pattern. There is always a pattern. If you say no pattern, then it remains a pattern. Freedom, I have not meant freedom this way. Freedom from mind, maybe. But actually, freedom doesn't involve anything here. Everybody says, I agree or disagree, I agree to this or I disagree to this, I am angry with this, or that hardly matters. Basically, what matters is, do you see that directly? If we can see ourselves directly, then perhaps it means something. That's my ordinary way of saying things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan Saab. I think the parting shot was really good. Thank you.